Good evening. Hi, this is your co-host of Seattle Boat Show Live, Peter Schrappen. I'm joined once again with my trusty companion, Mark Bunzel, the Waggoner Cruising Guide, publisher and editor. Hi, Mark. Good evening, sir. How's it going?
Hey, Peter. Great. I'm here in beautiful Point Hudson in Port Townsend, and spent a day on the water today, and we'll talk about some of the places I've been in the South Sound, and also Leonard and Lorena Landon, our managing editors, are with us. They'll click on here. There they are. Wow. And they also have been in the South Sound.
Excellent, excellent. Hi, Landons. Good evening. Sweet. And you might have noticed, for those at home, that we have switched up a little bit. We've moved from GoToWebinar to Zoom. We've graduated up a little bit. We've improved our game. Now, if you are interested in sending in your question, you can bring your cursor down to below the face of the Landons, or maybe mine on your screen, to the Q&A. So just shoot your question in and we can get that answered on air in real time. And if we can't, we can do some research and give you an answer next week. So that's the big news from our end. We've got a great show in store for you all at home. Mark, what do we have going on tonight?
Oh, we got a lot going on, and we're going to be reporting tonight on what's really going on out on the water, and what's going on the San Juan Islands, what's going on in the South Sound. You know, we've talked about things being a little bit crowded and a lot of people out on the water, and there seems to be a lot of people up in the San Juans, not as many down in the South Sound. So as we talk about the South Sound locations tonight, we're going to talk about some of the great places to go where there's plenty of moorage, some moorage rules to watch, but there is space. And the other theme you're going to hear that we've said over and over again is that if you're flexible, that works out great. In my case, I had one night I couldn't get at the dock, and okay, had to anchor. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. We'll talk about that.
Excellent, excellent. And if you maybe you were out and missed some of the news today, I was just going to recap a couple different things before we dove into our feature presentation tonight. But Governor Inslee had a press conference today at 2:30, and he laid out a few new rules for us. Unfortunately, the numbers are going in the wrong direction with COVID, and the new ordinance, law, regulation, I guess request, order, maybe more of an order, speaks to the fact that we are going in the wrong direction. So I was just going to share that briefly, that indoor dining restaurants will now be limited to members of the same household only, so no more mixing of friends at tables. And for counties in phase 3, there can only be 5 people at a table in a restaurant, and a total occupancy cannot exceed 50%. Bars are going to be closing at 10 p.m. Sorry to say that, Mark. Sure. Yeah, I think exactly. I will populate this in the chat, and I also will mention that the Seattle hockey team has a new name. I don't know if did you hear that, Landons or Mr. Bunzel? Did you get that word? Were you part of that decision-making body?
The Kraken.
Oh, that is live.
Great. This is great. Yeah.
Brand new day for our city and our area. So yeah, we now can go out and start buying up jerseys. So yeah, sweet. So Mark, where did you go this week?
Well, a couple of different places. But generally, we got some news about the San Juan Islands, and I'm headed up to the San Juan Islands next again, and I can tell you that a lot of the marinas are full. Some, like Roche Harbor, are not taking reservations, and I'm told that it's 2 reasons. 1, they're completely full, and 2, there are some people who make reservations and then don't show. And so they end up holding somebody's slip where they could do a first come, first served and fill up their marina. So what we've been seeing is that marinas sometimes will say, no, we're completely full. And this happened to me today at Point Hudson. I'd called a couple days in advance. They said they'd be full. I called about an hour and a half before showing up, and they said, yeah, here's your slip assignment. Go for it. Those with the bigger boats, that's a challenge. But I called Rosario. They're completely full. I talked to Fisherman's Bay for this weekend, and they had room, and that was terrific. So again, as we keep saying, be flexible, try the day that you're there, even try on the radio as you're approaching the area of the marina. And if they have room, they're going to slip you in. Leonard, Lorena, do you want to add anything to that?
We visited Swantown recently and called the day of, actually, and they had space for us. We noticed several slips available. And so that wasn't a problem. They assigned us a space. We pulled in. You go up, the office is closed, so you self-pay at the window, register. Had a great time, walked around. People were good about wearing their face coverings. The plaza there is beautiful. There's a nice little garden next to the huge Leif Erikson statue, and that's going to be actually the site of a new restaurant, Duke's Restaurant, which will open in August of next year. And so we're looking forward to that. And also noted that they have 2 new buildings under construction, new showers and restrooms and laundry, one located to the north of the office and one located to the south of the office plaza area. So lots of things happening there, and looking forward to visiting again. So that, yes, they had space at Swantown, so that wasn't a problem.
And I just add that, Mark, you touched on this, and and that is that San Juans sound like they're pretty busy right now. But the South Sound, we were surprised that there's space available. It's active, but it wasn't overly busy. And here in Hood Canal, there's plenty of space. The popular marinas are busy, but there's plenty of anchorage space and very few boats out here. So it's good.
Actually, I think I misspoke. I was speaking of Shilshole Bay Marina. We stopped there and called ahead, and wasn't a problem. We moved in easily into a space. And so the new buildings I was speaking of, the new Duke's Restaurant, it will be at Shilshole Bay Marina.
So we normally click through the 3 key areas, and why don't we've talked about the San Juans right now. I've got a comment about British Columbia, and Lorena, I think you've got a few updates there, but we are getting emails from people up in British Columbia asking us on this Wednesday night or Thursday night show to say both the citizens and the authorities in British Columbia are watching what's going on, and they are watching for boats, and especially the citizens. We got an email today to the editorial staff of the Waggoner Guide, to all of us, saying, hey, tell people they really shouldn't come up, meaning they believe, and I haven't verified this, that there are people going up, not going through customs, not getting cleared, and going up into British Columbia anyway. And when people see these American boats, they almost assume they're in there without approval. Or I saw a complaint today that somebody said, oh, these people said they were going to Alaska, and then they stop in the Gulf Islands for a week at a time. So be very cautious with this. There are strict fines, and on the car side of things, fines have been levied to people who've come into British Columbia and not been properly cleared into the country. And it's probably only a matter of time till that happens to a boat. And
actually, we did have a report here recently that a couple of boats were fined $1,000 each, and they were turned back. U.S. boats came across the border, misrepresented their intentions of passing through, and which didn't happen. They were touring around, and so they were fined and sent back. So if you are passing through, doing a pass through to Southeast Alaska, be sure you have your float plan. You stick with your plan, you could go directly, and you shouldn't be entering BC for non-essential travel or tourism.
Even the Toronto Blue Jays baseball team was turned away from Toronto this year,
That's right.
this season,
That's right.
which like opening day is tomorrow or tonight. But yeah, so it's a whole new ball game, no pun intended.
Well, and the question still comes out, what about August 21st? Is BC going to open up the border? My personal opinion is I don't think we're going to see the border open for a little while. I'll also say, though, when I've talked to some of the business owners up in BC, they're doing okay. We're all worried about them having a tough summer. and they're getting a lot of Canadian boaters coming up and visiting. So our friends who have the resorts are holding their own and doing okay. And luckily their countrymen are coming up to visit them. A lot of Canadian boaters. Southeast Alaska, have you heard anything new, Lorena?
It's the same procedure, come with a negative test. Once you've entered Alaska, you need to have a second test, or you can opt for the 14-day quarantine. Do check with each harbor. They may have different procedures at each destination, so do call ahead as to their requirements.
Yeah, I put a plug in too for the 710 Outdoor
So that-
Line show, which is every Saturday from 6 to 8 in the morning. It's a little early, but I will say that they do a yeoman's job getting their podcasts up, and I can put a link in the chat box. They cover Southeast Alaska just about every week right now, and it's been a real good resource for me to get my head around what's going on in Alaska, because they are there. Half the staff is up there right now fishing. So yeah, it's been a great listen to. It's like click and clack with fishing, and it's a lot of fun. So yep.
Great, thanks, Peter. That is a lot of fun. It's a good tip for those of us up early on a Saturday morning. So, and I have to say, fishing must be good. Today, coming up through the South Sound and up towards Port Townsend, all the major points had quite a fleet of fishing boats, recreational fishing boats out there, and I hope they're catching. I don't have a good fishing report, but they were sure. So you want to keep an eye open as you're passing through these areas for quite a few fishing boats. So with that, why don't we fill you in on our cruising experience, respectively,
Sounds
of
great.
cruising the South Sound. And I had an experience just like in last week's show. I talked about I came to Langley, and who's the first person I saw was Peter Schrappen. It was the strangest thing.
Dream come true, right, Mark?
There he was. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Oh.
But this time I was coming up. What pass was it, Lorena? Before
Bud Inlet.
Bud Inlet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get a text. Hey, we saw you on AIS. We're going to pass each other. And it was the Landons. And here are two boats come up in the middle of the channel. And then I see Leonard out on the front deck shooting video of our meeting in the channel on his drone. So strange things can happen out on the water.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we crossed paths on the South Sound. But last week we ended in my particular case, we were at Des Moines Marina, and after Des Moines we continued on and cruised down, and one of the next places we hit was Tacoma. And Tacoma, great location. It's just developed over the years. When I hear people do the Tacoma aroma, because that's so old anymore. They've redeveloped the downtown area. The marinas are fantastic. And as we said at the beginning of the show, there was plenty of moorage. Dock Street Marina had moorage. Foss Harbor Waterway had plenty of moorage. Now, granted, I was there during the middle of the week, but there were plenty of options. Now, the museums are closed, and that's the unfortunate thing, because the 5 museums that are there are just fantastic to visit, and unfortunately, they are closed. But you can go to Tacoma, and you can visit the restaurants and pubs and still have a good time. Next, in our case, we continued down and actually moved on towards Olympia and stopped at a couple of locations on the bay, and one that both the Landons visited and we visited on my boat was Filucy Bay. Filucy Bay is the home of the Long Branch Improvement Club, kind of a yacht club, but not really, and very nice. Leonard and Lorena, you went up to the club, correct?
We did. Very nice. They had their club is open, covered area, but it's open, so you can see views of the bay and boats, and everybody's very friendly. Again, people were wearing their masks. You self-register and sign in. There was space left on the docks, just a nice quiet area, lots of anchorage. So highly recommend it for anchoring or going into the docks.
We anchored on the outer part of the bay because it was one of those clear sunny days that we've had over the last couple days. And I gotta tell you, Mount was just smack dab right off the bow of my boat. It was huge, it was beautiful, it was pretty. And Filucy Bay, plenty, as Lorena said, plenty of room to anchor, and just a very, very pleasant night there at Filucy Bay. Next, after Filucy Bay on my boat, we headed down, and this is where we passed the Langdons on the way, but then the Landons, and then we continued on to Olympia. And I wanted to go to Olympia because it's been quite a few years since I've been to the Olympia Farmers Market. So instead of Swantown Marina, I went around to Percival Landing. This is run by the city and fairly new. They did a great job when they built it. It's looking like it needs a little maintenance, grass growing on the dock, but it's still a great place to stop in. With a very short walk from Percival Landing to the farmers market, and the farmers market was open. It wasn't quite as big as I've seen it the last time I was there. Similar to my experience at Pike Place Market, not all the stalls were occupied, but there were enough occupied. It was great. Plenty of fresh produce. The meat vendor was there. It had meat. There were arts and crafts, and still worth visiting. And I was just having lunch with somebody today and was recommending stopping down in Olympia because they're going, geez, we can't get our boat in anywhere in the San Juan Islands. I said, go south. It's great. And
I'd like to add, we too went to Swantown. We stayed at the marina rather than Percival and got out our fold-up bicycles and biked a short ride over to the market and also to the grocery store. And we, it probably looks kind of funny, but we tie up our grocery bags around our handlebars and bike along through town with our groceries, but that works well. So if you have fold-up bicycles, Swantown is a great place to stay. We were able to make reservations, no problem. And they have a new pump out. So they have 2 pump outs now on their fuel dock, which is nice. And I had a great time there. Farmers market was great.
I had a question that came in here. We understand there's no discharge of any color allowed at Long Branch Marina. Is that true with your experience?
They have posted signs that says no gray water. So they ask that you not discharge gray water.
Yeah, we're going to have an upcoming show on gray water and black water and the awful subject of pumping out and so forth. We're trying to do our best to indicate what pump outs are working or not working. We're doing them on the Waggoner site where we can, where we spot that they're not working. And there are a couple of critical pump out stations that are not working. And it's not clear what the maintenance plans are. And we want to have guests on this show that talk about how those pump outs are maintained, where the state stands on this, and what to look forward to in the future. And gray water is one of my first questions when we talk to people from the state. My gut is telling me that prohibiting gray water is the future. And for all of us, if that does happen, boy, we're going to have to replumb our boats to put that gray water into our holding tanks or put in separate holding tanks for gray water. It's a real challenge that I think is over the horizon.
And add to that, there's already has been a couple of places up in BC in the Gulf Islands that technically are posted no gray water discharge. One of them is Pirates Cove on Darcy Island, and it's been posted for a while that there's no gray water discharge. No, but as Mark points out, it's one of those things that we have to address in the future.
Yeah, and I would hope that our participants who are at home watching will gear up their questions and so forth for that. So we'll have that in the next couple of weeks, and we'll put together an exciting show for that. Next, after Oakland, visiting in that area, Percival Landing and Swantown, we moved on to Gig Harbor, and Gig Harbor is pretty crowded, but we were late in the afternoon, and we were able to get space at the dock at Jersich Landing, and it was great. There was a wonderful crowd there, and I got to tell you, kayaks going by, these kayaks where you kneel on one knee, the kids are playing, just a lot of life going on. Yes, people were wearing their masks, but the thing that blew me away is the new gondolas that are cruising around the harbor. You can rent a gondola, and I was told it's $85 to go out, and it's not inexpensive, but they do have a snack box that they give you, and just a wonderful way. And these gondoliers that they have, Leonard, Lorena, and I were, we actually visited Venice and saw these beautiful boats and the gondoliers driving them, and they're incredibly skilled. And I was pleasantly surprised by the gondoliers in little old Gig Harbor and how skilled they were moving those boats around.
Not to be a buzzkill here, but did you see the headline about 30 boaters harassed a pod of orcas because they're getting their dumb Facebook video this past week? Did you guys see that?
I did see it. I saw it on social media, and it caught my eye because I had been through that pass within 2 hours of when that happened. And it was sad. It was sad to see the boats and jet skis just coming up, going way inside of the whale-wise distances, which 300 yards and 400 yards, please. And it was just completely out of control based on the video. And I think the lesson there is you may think nobody's watching, and then you find yourself, as those people did, on the nightly news that night, being called out for their bad behavior. And that was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even bad behavior. It's against the law. So you risk a pretty serious penalty. I believe it's a federal offense even, because they are on the endangered species list. It makes boating for us in the future tougher because lawmakers read the newspaper, surprise, surprise, and are looking at ways to save the whales. So that is, it's a bum deal. I'm glad that we covered that 2 weeks ago, which I missed that episode because I was hanging out with, getting ready to hang out with Mark. But I know there were a lot of questions, a lot of interest in that subject. So I think we should stay on top of that one moving forward as well.
Yeah, I think we'll revisit it in the fall or winter. There's new science being developed, and we had some great people on the panel, and I think it's worth bringing them back and talking about that subject again.
Tell me more about these gondoliers. That was news to me. We got a question in the chat box. Now, you rent, is it like, talk to me about that.
Well, there's a website for it.
I'll look for it.
And
yeah.
I don't have the web address. You could probably search Gondolas Gig Harbor. The web address is something like that, and you can get more.
The gondolier takes you out for a tour, basically, of the harbor and talk about some of the sites and some of the history. And
how about that? Yeah.
They have a nice lunch for you, and it's, a kind of a couple's romantic type of adventure, you might say.
And he sings. He sings. Beautiful Italian. Oh, it was wonderful.
Sweet. I just, I'm finding it. I am putting it in the chat box. This sounds awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah. So I talked to the guy who runs the Gig Harbor Marina and Boatyard, Ron, and Ron came up with that idea.
Oh,
and,
okay.
They, as I said earlier, they actually brought 2 gondolas over from Italy that were made there, and the gondoliers had been properly trained, and they're terrific.
Nice, huh? Sure, glad we're having this show. It's great to get these updates.
Yeah, well, and people have a concern about Gig Harbor. The Anchorage area was very busy, very full. Beware when you come into that harbor. It is a very narrow and shallow entrance. We saw boats just about running aground yesterday when I was leaving during low tide. And when you get in, Arabella's is not open, and so there's no moorage there. There is moorage during the day. That's free moorage during the day, and they're expecting that you'll order something from the restaurant or bar. And it was fascinating to watch the wait staff go down the dock with their tray of drinks and be delivering drinks to the boats. And what a great way to stop in for the afternoon. They've got a terrific margarita menu of about 8 different margaritas that they make. Not that I had any. I wasn't.
Margarita pizza?
Oh, and they have pizza, great pizza. Yeah. So, and they'll bring the food down to your boat also. So another thing. Now, they were very, very particular with masks. If you go up to use the restaurant itself, they want you to have your mask on. I got up from the table to take a picture, did not put my mask back on, and boy, I was shooting back to my table to go get my mask. So many places.
We noticed that too in Gig Harbor.
Very serious.
Yeah, the mask wearing was an important part of Governor Inslee's press conference today, where he had the Department of Health Secretary on there, Secretary Weissman, talking about how they're tightening down on masks as well, both in retail and at all over the place. It's masks, and more masks. So get used to that feeling.
Yep. Yeah, all on the water also, and sensitive to when they pass you on the dock, and they're kind of readjusting their mask, and if they don't have their mask on, they're putting it on right away. So that's part of our new era. Leonard and Lorena, what else did you see in the South Sound?
Well, I might mention a couple of important updates. Tolmie State Park has 3 mooring buoys, and it's been reported that there's a sunken buoy under the surface of the water. It's marked with a red marker buoy. However, it's not always visible at high tide, so be aware of that. And then I think we mentioned last time about the old buoys in Westcott Bay. They appear at minus tides, and some may be, again, just under the surface. And so between there, if you draw a line between Bell Point and the pier of the existing Westcott Bay Shellfish Company, that's where they lie. So be aware of those.
And then, so back to South Sound again, you were asking, one of the discoveries that we had that's for the adventuresome boaters, and your people that are looking for something new and it's a day anchorage in the Tacoma, the Narrows area, and you'll notice this big blaze on the side, on the hillside.
Leonard, you broke up a little bit. You broke up a little bit. What was the precise spot?
Chambers Bay Golf Course,
Thank you.
south of Tacoma.
Sure.
Yes, and right south of the Narrows Marina. And you'll see the Chambers Bay. It's this huge area, and there's a beautiful golf course in there. Well, there's a shallow area that's suitable for a day anchoring or a lunch anchoring, and then there's a footbridge that goes over the railroad tracks and takes you to a wonderful pathway that snakes its way through this gigantic golf course. Just a wonderful outing. Get yourself get a hook, anchor out there for a lunch date. Take the dinghy in, take kayaks into shore, go take this bridge across, the pedestrian bridge. It's quite an outing and a great discovery. Another one that we talked about last time also is Oro Bay on the east side of Anderson Island, down in the South Sound, and some spectacular views of Mount Rainier. If you're there on a clear day, the mountain is so close to you that it becomes very, very visible and a very big part of the scenery. So for us, the South Sound had a couple of great discoveries. One of our other big topics that we wanted to talk about was Hood Canal, which we just spent the last week or so here in Hood Canal, and this is our second trip into Hood Canal this season. And wanted to start by saying that Hood Canal is, even we didn't really cruise Hood Canal in the past. And I think it's because we thought of Hood Canal as this one gigantic area, 50 miles long. It's a narrow canal, and it doesn't have much to offer. And that's really the wrong impression, because it's really three separate areas. There's the north area that's up near the Hood Canal Bridge, and that's everything from Port Ludlow to Port Gamble to Squamish Bay to Bywater Bay. These are great anchorages and a couple of great destinations. And then once you get past the sub-base, the Bangor Base area, you're into what we would title the middle area, and has some great anchorages and a couple of destinations. One of them is Seebeck. Seebeck Bay has some great anchorages, well protected from the southerly winds, and a little village in there with a public, there's a public beach area where you can land your dinghy or your kayak. And on the right there at the beach landing is a country grocery store, well done grocery store, a pizza stand or store,
shop.
and a gift shop in there. She discovered the
Coffee
gift,
shop.
coffee shop
Coffee and
gift
gifts,
shop.
of course.
She went for the gifts.
Places
So-
to spend money. Yes, I love it. I'm good at
So
that.
great. And then over on the other side of the Hood Canal is Pleasant Harbor, which has Pleasant Harbor Resort, and a beautiful place, wonderful place. They're right now they're full. They take reservations, and they're full through the 29th of this month. But after that, they've probably got some space and a great place to make a reservation, hang out for a while. And there's also anchorage right off of the resort area. Enough room for about about a dozen boats in there. And then there's also a public dock in there, a state park dock that has room for maybe 2, 3, 4 boats in there, all very well protected. Good anchorage in there. And then from there, you can head up into Dabob Bay and Quilcene Bay. And there's a couple of anchorages in there. One of them is in Lancaster Bay, and good little anchorage, protected, good scenic, quiet place. And then up in Quilcene Bay is probably one of the greatest discoveries. A large bay up there, huge anchorage area with beautiful anchoring depths, and it feels so remote there. It's probably as remote as some of the places up further north in the Broughtons in terms of the feel of it. Very, very few homes along the shore, and you're looking up at the foothills of the Olympics. And further up then are, of course, the Olympic Mountains, which tower above that. On a clear day, it's beautiful. So that's the kind of the north area. The middle area has some excellent cruising areas. We anchored in Quilcene Bay last night. There was exactly one other boat in the bay. That was it. A Katie Krogan was anchored out on the west shore, and gobs and gobs of room. There's also a marina up at a small marina at the head of Quilcene Bay. The Herb Beck Marina has space for smaller boats and one side tie for larger boats. So if you want to hang out up there, again, nobody up there. We maybe saw, in the whole time we've been out here, it's maybe 2 to 4 other cruising boats, and that's it.
Hood Canal would be a great place to go, especially this year when people are headed to the San Juans and it's crowded there. It's crowded in places in the South Sound, especially Tacoma area, with all the sport fishing. So Hood Canal, like Leonard said, we only saw 2 or 3 pleasure boats. It's a fabulous place to cruise this year. Beautiful scenery. The mountains were spectacular. Great place.
And then, of course, there's the site as you go by Bangor Base, and you can wave at all the patrol boats that are out there guarding the restricted area. There's a gigantic covered moorage over there. I didn't dare try to get space in there. I looked the fencing.
You may not come back if you do.
Or it would probably be an answer, kind of like I got a long time ago when we were down in Steilacoom, and we wanted to take the small ferry that takes you out to Anderson Island, and it's the same landing, same pier as the ferry that takes you out to McNeil Island to the prison. And I accidentally went to the wrong office, and I said, we'd like to get onto the island. And the gentleman said, Well, he said, I don't think you do. He said, it's a 15-minute ride over, but it's 15 years to get back.
Oh, well, they'll sell you a one-way ticket.
Yeah, this was a long time ago when we had our motorcycles and we were ready to go. And he said, it'll take you a while to get back.
Yeah, let's think twice about that one.
So I said there were 3 areas in Hood Canal, and we touched on the north and the middle, and we'll leave the lower leg for a future show. But there's a lot of space down there and some nice destinations. Again, we'll cover that in the future.
I have a question. So Scenic Beach State Park, the host of my rehearsal dinner back in 2002, is that accessible by boat? Can you anchor out? I've only been to Scenic Beach State Park from the land side.
Scenic Beach.
Oh, Scenic,
Scenic
it
Beach
is accessible by boat. There aren't any real boating facilities at Scenic Beach per se. There's no mooring buoys or anything, but you can certainly access the beach from there. It's a little bit, you'd want to do it in very calm weather because it sits out on the point, and quite often, here in the Hood Canal, you're going to get winds out of the south, and you're going to get hit pretty good with the winds out of the south on Scenic Beach. The Scenic Beach is kind of on the southwest side of the peninsula that protects Seebeck Bay, so it's kind of on the windward side of all of it.
Thank you. I did not know all that.
Yeah. Just ask us, Peter.
That's why I'm here.
We're there. We're doing
It's a
it.
full day for me.
Yeah. So I went on my way starting north up to Poulsbo. And Poulsbo, great town, and the moorage situation is interesting. Poulsbo is great because they have choices. You've got a great anchorage out in front of the marina. And then in the marina, what they're doing, and they'll tell you this on the recording if you try to make a reservation, is they encourage you to come to the marina and take a slip which has an open sign on the slip. Now, their version of social distancing is a little different than they're doing in Roche Harbor and others, where they're actually closing off 1 or 2 slips between slips. So if a slip says reserved, what that really means is that slip is closed off for COVID-19 reasons. But it's fairly efficient. And last night when I was there, there was hardly any, there was plenty of open moorage slips. But I had my backup plan all set because I was going to anchor out if need be. And of course, it's settled. We'd have that. No problem at all there, 50 feet deep in mud. I'll be happy to bring that. Now, get to Poulsbo, of course, it's worth to walk the town. A lot of the shops were open yesterday. The bakery was open.
Yeah,
God
that's my
forbid the
question.
bakery not be open.
They
In
get that
fact, I
big-
know. Yeah.
How about that bear claw?
Well,
Bear
that's
claw
like,
open?
that's what I had. The butter bear claw. I'm still carrying
Wow.
it. I
Good
think.
grief.
Yeah.
Love it.
was-
Carpe diem, Mark
it-
Bunzel.
It was delicious. And for those of you interested, the bakery opened at 5 a.m. So now last night when I walked by at 5 p.m., there was a line, a COVID-19 line of about 15 people waiting to get their bakery in at Sluice. And but the other shops were open, the restaurants were open, the
Yeah,
town felt
that's a
alive.
nice pizza that's there. That's a good
Yes.
pizza spot. Was that? Yeah.
They
I
were
know my
open.
Kitsap County.
You do. So in the marina, to pay moorage, you pay in a pay envelope and put it through the little slot, so you never no, it's touchless. So I was out of there this morning at 6:30 in the morning and on our way north to Port Townsend, where we had to make one stop, and I have to put a plug in Lorena. All horrific.
We're losing you, Mark.
In Padlock.
We're
So I had to go to the Ajax Cafe.
Yep, Mark.
Did you lose me?
We lost you.
I
What
went
was
to
the question?
Ajax Cafe, yes.
Oh, I was just saying, Lorena can fill in on the Ajax Cafe.
Oh,
She
it's
did this
fabulous.
great Waggoner guide last year, which is in the 2021 Waggoner guide.
I
Peter,
don't
I
have
don't
my
hear your
bell.
bell.
I don't have the bell. I know.
Yeah. Ajax Cafe is at Irondale near Hadlock, south of Port Townsend. It's a fabulous, they have fabulous food. There's a dock there, plenty of space to tie up for the day. You can't
dinghies.
overnight there,
Dinghies,
but you can
though, right?
stay at the dock while you're at Ajax. The food is fabulous, and it's such a fun place because there are a variety of hats on the wall, all different types of hats from different periods of time, different characters, and everyone can choose a hat off the wall, try it on.
Head license free.
Yes. And pretty soon it becomes one big party. Everyone's talking about each other's hat and the character that you took on. And it's great fun.
We should do that one of those nights
are-
for Seattle Boat Show Live.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
yes, from the Ajax Cafe. Yeah, that's a great.
Menus are in old albums. So record albums are the
Oh,
menus.
I don't
So
know
that's
this place. That
menus.
sounds fantastic. Yeah.
It's a great place.
Sweet. I had a question come into the chat. The temperatures for Hood Canal swimming, what are those like?
I saw that, and so we didn't go swimming, but so we can't verify that. But there were indeed a number of people. Cool scene last night. There were people out there with sport boats. There was one sport boat that had come out from Herb Beck Marina, and they were out there doing some water sport activity out in the middle of the bay. And so, and that's not the only one we've seen. We've seen some other people out there. So we have to assume at this point that the water temperatures are looking pretty good. Now, these were younger people, so so we know they're hardier people than those of us that are a little too timid to get into the water yet.
You're street smart, Leonard.
Hey, just had a comment come in on the Q&A line from Linda.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Linda. That no hats, exchanging of hats at the Ajax Cafe due to COVID-19 reasons. Now, I did say I was there today. I did not wear any hats. I dined outside rather than in the restaurant. But Linda, thank you for sharing that after our buildup about.
Yes, wait till after COVID. Yes.
Hopefully, when the COVID. Yeah. So keep the questions coming in. Mark, thank you for your suggestion about putting up some indication of what we're talking about. So we'll try to come up with some write-in signs or something that we can hold up when our audio goes away. Sometimes it's a problem. And let's see, Mark, you're saying that lots of people were swimming at Alderbrook, so he must be down there.
Further south, yeah. Right? Yeah, great. I do have a couple of updates in regards to Port Gamble. We talked about the beach access there that's new. And in further research, I've discovered that it's temporary. They are planning to do more cleanup, soil testing, and core samples and so forth through 2021. And they hope to make an official public beach access in 2022. So just to let folks know that right now the beach access is temporary until 2022. And then Docton Park in Quartermaster Harbor in the South Sound, they're starting their reconstruction of the docks at Docton Park. And there will be closures through July 27th through September. So access is best done by kayak or dinghy to shore. You can still walk across the road and access the Docton Forest trails. So that's still available. The playground and picnic shelter will be closed. But again, you can access the shore by dinghy or kayak and enjoy the trails. The boat launch remains open, so that's still there. So those are two updates to be aware of for Docton Park and Port Gamble.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we're doing updates and notices, if you are headed out here to Hood Canal, please take a look at the U.S. Coast Guard local notice to mariners. There's 2 active guard exercises here on the north part of the Hood Canal, and you need to stay away a fair distance away from the U.S. Coast Guard vessels. And then the more interesting one is in the middle, check the dates, but on the local notice to mariners, but on the lower leg, what they call the Great Bend down at the south end of it, the Navy and the Air Force, I guess, will be doing airdrops of water into Hood Canal somewhere, is what the local notice to mariners says. It's one of those things that you normally want to stay away from it, but I'd like to go down and see what the heck they're doing down there. But
yeah, I'm seeing this. It's a Coast Guard exercise. Will enforce safety zones surrounding vessels involved in the Coast Guard training exercises. August 17th through the 21st. Is that what you're referring to?
They didn't have that much specifics in it, but it could very well be. It was.
I'll put that in the chat. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a U.S. Coast Guard exercise they're doing up here. So there will be multiple U.S. Coast Guard vessels up here in the north end of the Hood Canal. But the airdrop of the water sounds interesting. They didn't have an explanation of what they're doing, but there is something going on down there too.
Okay, great, thanks. Did we hit through all those questions? Let's see, I think we did. One question, what about the South Hood Canal destinations? Did you want to touch any more on that, or is that for a future show?
We're headed down there later this summer, so we'll be doing more down there.
Stay tuned.
Exactly.
Can't give away the farm tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
Coming soon, as they say.
Yeah. Speaking of that, one of the other stops that we made was the Lake Bay Marina, and we're going to do a special on the Lake Bay Marina next week and talk about this classic 100-year-old marina. We're going to look to raise some money to buy it. How often each marina and have to take responsibility. We're going to have Bob Wise and a few other guests from the Regional Boating Association of Washington, ARBA, and they have a goal of raising the money to buy this location so it doesn't become part of a developer's plan. And we'll talk about that next week.
It is a historic place. It's on the historic registry, so it's where the mosquito fleet docked, among other places in our area. So it's worth saving and keeping and keeping that wonderful destination.
So
I've been tracking that issue for a while.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that Lake Bay Marina is something that we've been watching in the legislature. I mean, I know I'm biased, but there's so much politics in boating, and this is one of those examples right here where we can be working with our legislators to do something good for boating. They've stepped up before, and we're hoping they'll step up again when they think about their upcoming budget. So I'm definitely looking forward to that conversation, and Bob is as sharp as a tack. So lots to talk about him with Lake Bay and a bunch of other topics. So looking forward to that one.
Leonard, you had something you wanted to add to tonight's show.
I do. I want to talk a little bit about the Waggoner Guide and how it gets updated. And a little bit of it's about how it gets updated. It's updated every year. And so we get out to, not just we, and that's part of the message here, but we need to get out to hundreds of marinas and anchorages to investigate, see that they're really there. And it really takes a team, and the team consists of the editors and our field correspondents, but also takes a family. And that family is all of you folks out there, the readers. And we consistently get emails and comments and questions and things that people want added to the book or information that we have. And we thank all of you for doing that, and especially this year. This year is very challenging, obviously. And the big question would be, how the heck are we going to canvass and cover BC, for instance? And luckily, we do have field correspondents. We have 7 individuals and couples that we've had doing work for us in the past few years. These are volunteers, and these volunteers are boaters that are out there looking, visiting these places. And we have representation in BC. So we have that covered for the 2021 Waggoner. We've already started we're into the 2021 update process. So we're collecting information for that. You as a family, you boaters, everyone that's out there, we very much appreciate your comments. Send us some comments and emails Send emails to the Waggoner Guide. Let us know if you discover something that is different than it's in the book. We sure want to get it corrected for the 2021 Waggoner Guide. And again, we thank you for the family. And we also let you know that we do add to our field correspondence team on occasion. If you're interested, send us an email.
Yeah, what's your email address? I'll put it in the chat.
LLandon@waggonerguide.com.
L Landon
So L, yeah,
at waggonerguide.com.
LLANDON@waggonerguide.com.
And don't forget the 2 G's in Waggoner.
Right.
Oh, amen.
Okay, we've got a question that came on, Mark from La Perouse, one of my favorite French explorers. Anyway, Mark is asking, do you have any comments about Shelton and Hammersley? And I think it's a good question. Leonard, Lorena?
It is.
That was on our list. We didn't make it out to Shelton. So I wish I could give you firsthand information, but we don't have updates for Shelton right now.
Well, we need to check on this because I talked to somebody. You talk about the family, and I get feedback all summer long from people, and they were telling me how the local government agencies around the Shelton area, as well as I believe one of the logging companies, they donated their land to the Shelton Yacht Club, and the Shelton Yacht Club just completely expanded. Yeah, and that was courtesy of Sam Devlin. I was just reminded. And it sounds like something we need to check out because now the Shelton Yacht Club has almost the land around a complete bay. And I want to hear more about this. This sounds very exciting. So we'll let you know more about that. Thank you for the question. The other question that came in from Dan, excuse me, is a question of whether fuel is available at Pleasant Harbor or others in the area around the middle area of Hood Canal. What's the fuel situation?
And Pleasant Harbor, the fuel dock is open. They have both the diesel and gas, and they were going. And there's a pump out at Pleasant Harbor as well. So everything, things are operating there. The only thing that's not operating right now at Pleasant Harbor is the restaurant. Pretty much everything else is open. There's what they've done for restrooms, because they do have some liveaboard people there. And so in consideration of the liveaboard people, they've taken one of their restroom facilities and designated that for the liveaboard permanent tenants. And the second one is the other one is available for guest moorage. And also, by the way, if you've been to Pleasant Harbor in the last few years, you've noticed that in the 2017 storm, it wiped out 2 of their docks. And so the pilings have been sitting there, and they've been awaiting new floats coming in. And according to Diane at Pleasant Harbor, they're awaiting a permit, a piece of paper, and they're ready to put these floats back in any day. They have the floats, they're on site and ready to go into the water as soon as they get the permit. And then with that, they're going to be adding another 42 spaces. So they're hopeful that even this summer, that soon, that they'll have more space available at Pleasant Harbor. A delightful place, beautiful. The other one, the other one that is not, the other part of it, unfortunately, is this closed during COVID. So that part is closed. I know, so we broke up a little bit here. Yeah. So the pool and the hot tub are not open right now due to COVID restrictions, but the location is still gorgeous. Yeah, beautiful place.
The new pool is lovely, beautiful setting, surrounded by trees and overlooking the marina, so it's great.
Cool. Well, we're wrapping up here. It's 7:54. Any closing thoughts before I say good night to folks?
I think, our general message is get out there on the water, especially the last 2 weeks with the high pressure we had sitting over this area, not a cloud in the sky. I mean, this is when you pinch yourself and say, I am so glad I'm a boater. I'm so glad I can get out there, these gorgeous views of Mount Rainier and mountains and It's just been fantastic. And don't be intimidated by the COVID-19 issues. Some of the marinas are pretty full, especially in the San Juans, but you may not have tried before, and go for it.
I do
kind of
have
my wrap.
one. I do have one update for BC boaters. Just talked to Shearwater, and they have been open for guest moorage, but they're currently closed now to guest moorage. The store is still open, fuel docks open with limited hours, but due to some COVID issues, their guest moorage is no longer open. They may open again later. So we'll keep that posted on our table online, and call ahead if you're planning to go to Shearwater.
Okay. And I was going to mention that my family, while I was on Zooms throughout the day, they went to Blake Island today, and they had a fantastic time. It was a day trip for them, leaving LA Bay Marina on the Stavy Craft tender, and got back in a quick couple hours. They did a 4-mile hike as well, and had a glorious time. Saw a lot of raccoons. The hike is not too treacherous, so it sounded like a great day trip from the Seattle area. The moorage, it's 70 cents a foot if you want to spend the night, but they just moored and got on board, got on land, and we're back before I knew it. So yeah, I wanted to get that in there. Mark, you've been over there recently, right?
Yeah, I can add to that, Peter. I went by the backside of Blake Island, and there's a whole row of mooring balls there, and all but 2 were occupied. So that one is pretty popular, but there were 2 balls available when we went by during the middle of the day.
Cool. And I had some boat sales information I wanted to share, and then I want to hear about next week's show, and then we'll say goodnight. But we couldn't be more ecstatic on the direction of boat sales, Mark and the Landons. New boat sales are up in June, 44% in units from last year at this same month, and 47.9% in value compared to June of 2019. Brokerage
That's
boats,
phenomenal.
yeah, isn't that something? It's exactly what's playing out nationally as well. Brokerage boats for June were up 18.3% in units, and they were down in value a little bit. And we get this bulletproof data from our friends at Washington Sea Grant, and we're lucky to have that relationship with them going on at least 15, 20 years, where we get the licensing information and all that data that we can pass along. And we're sitting in the catbird seat, as they like to say.
Well, we are, but it brings back that message. Moorage is going to get tighter and tighter, and I'll segue right to that's why many of us have taken an interest in the Lake Bay Marina that we're going to talk about in next week's show, because if that is closed down as a marina, that's one less spot, one less place to go. And right now we need more places to go. And we're working on a show that's going to talk, this will probably be in the fall, we're going to talk about mooring buoys and how they're funded, where they are. I mean, the state is funding through DNR, through parks. We were surprised to learn more about DNR buoys, completely different than how parks is handled. And I think we need to encourage our legislators to spend more of this boating money to support moorage, and one way to do it very efficient with mooring buoys.
Yeah, we could have a legislator on the show, no problem. I'd like to explore etiquette also down the road. We've got a lot of new first-time boaters out there. We're seeing a lot of new faces out on the water, and I think there's some. I know I've got questions when I end up tying the ropes up and getting encouraged by my father-in-law to do the right thing, and I'm not always exactly sure what I'm doing. So I think maybe going over some etiquette would be beneficial for our family out there boating. So yeah, I'd like to put that in the queue.
Yep, I think that's a great idea, Peter, and we'll come up with a show on that. I think we can have a little humor with it, and we're going to ask our viewers to put in some of their personal stories of when they've seen, I hate to say it, but bad etiquette on the water or at the docks, and we can probably chuckle a little bit but get a lesson out of it.
Cool. And I'm hearing from a viewer right now that she's buying a boat in the next couple of weeks, and she would love a show about manners and best practices. So right on about that one. So yeah, I think we're going to conclude it there. This is episode 10 of the Seattle Boat Show Live. The host of Saturday Night Live, episode 10, was Buck Henry. the late great Buck Henry,
Yeah.
genius. So yeah, how about that? So great. Well, Landon, stay safe on the water. Mark, tight lines to you, my friend, and to everyone at home. I'm going to say good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.